everybody. Welcome back. It's a Wednesday night edition of Inside the Headset. Going to roll over to Williamson County, and it's the news probably of the week. But in our fraternity of coaches, of the Inside the Headset coaches, that we do have region play, so those coaches always usually play each other. But very rarely do we have fraternal coaches in our little organization going against each other, and it just so happens this Friday night that will take place. I talked to Coach Kevin Creasy earlier, and now joining us on Inside the Headset, the head coach of the Ravenwood Raptors, head coach Will Hester. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Doing amazing, Stuart. What a beautiful night.
Yes, it is in the state of Tennessee, and talk about last week's win. You're sitting at 2-1 and getting ready to go into week and already into the throes of week 4. But take us through your last Friday night and what went on with your game, because we were kind of in a wild situation. But take it away.
Yeah, it was pretty miserable at our place too. We were delayed an hour before the original kickoff, and then we got to play a half of football, and neither team really played pretty well. Neither team played well at all. We were ahead 10-6 after a half of just sloppiness, and then we got delayed again and sat around till midnight.
Lord!
At midnight, we made the decision to move the game to Saturday at 1 p.m.
And looking back
so we all
on
went
it,
home.
Stop right there. Looking back on it, should you have pulled the plug at 10? Now looking at it.
Yeah, probably so. But, everybody, we were all there. Everybody wanted to get it done. We had members of our refereeing crew from all the way in Waynesboro. And, who wants to send those guys home to Waynesboro and bring them back? And so we sat around there to midnight. We actually went out at 11 and started warming up again. And about 5 minutes out there, got sent back off the field. So, anyway, we made the decision to
What an exhausting
the next day.
Friday night just to go through that logistically and try to figure out whether or not you're going to get this football game in or not. I mean, it just had to be the cognitive energy you were burning and not doing nothing, just waiting to play.
Yeah, absolutely. It was miserable. We bring food to give our kids at halftime.
Yes,
and then
sir.
We bring food to give our kids for after the game. So we blow through all that food. Our parents ordered pizza that came about the time we shut it down at midnight, and so it was a mess. And then we had to go home and do the laundry because you got to wash the uniforms. You got to turn around and play again in a few hours. And finally got into bed about 3 a.m. and got up and did it again.
Lord, wow. I just, that's wild. I mean, when you do something like that and you go through all those logistics to put on a Friday night, and then all of a sudden you get to the point and you realize you didn't get to play and you got to bring. So did that ref crew? And this is I guess it's a TSS AA deal. So they turned around the Waynesboro crew and they came back and did the second half on Saturday.
Yeah, I think all but two of them who had prior engagements, they replaced 2 of the guys. But yeah, it was a 5-man crew, so 3 of the 5 turned around and came right back for a 1 o'clock kickoff, and then we ended up scoring 21 unanswered in that second half, and it only took about an hour. So we went through all those logistics for about another hour of football. So final score ended up being 31-6.
Well, and you get through it, and then, so it's Saturday. So where do you – I mean, who your next opponent is. So now it's Saturday, I guess, at 7 o'clock or whatever, and you start thinking about you got to play Kevin Creasy and the Oakland Patriots. Had you already – I mean, you couldn't have traded film. You didn't have nothing to give him. So now you sort together. I guess you get your Franklin video or did you all trade a little bit on Saturday prior to you playing the Franklin game?
Well, one thing about both Kevin and I, Stork, and I imagine Kevin would say the same thing, he and I are both a little bit of a film hoarder, if you will, and we hoard film of all the teams we're going to play throughout the
I don't
year.
know anything about that, Coach. I don't know
film of us, and we did too. So
I don't know anything about that, Coach. I mean, we've always, he told me today. Now, is this true? Tell me, there's a person out there in Williamson County that's probably the biggest film hoarder, but you wouldn't think he's a film hoarder. But he's a former inside the headset guy.
Well, I mean, Donnie Well's been known to hoard a film or two.
I tell
Creasy learned it.
I tell you, that's the best, man. That was the conversation today. He said, Donnie Webb's got the best library stork you've ever laid your two eyes on. He's got all kinds of video. Well, it's no secret you're gonna have Coach Creasy over and everything. Let's talk a little bit about this one. But first, before we get into the game and everything, I asked him on the show earlier today, when was the first time you can ever recall your first meeting with Coach Kevin Creasy?
Yeah, obviously I had heard his name and knew who he was a little bit because our coaching circle is pretty close. But I would say I would have been the head coach at Laverne. I think Coach Creasy was probably the defensive coordinator at Riverdale when we first met face-to-face, I would say.
So, and that was in 07, he said. So Ron A-Lot was there, and so he was head coaching, and you did you play? Can you remember 07? Did you go to Riverdale, or did Riverdale come to you for the region game?
I want to say I believe Riverdale came to us. That was we had Quentin Patton, who played for the 49ers, and Collins who played.
Sonny Gray still says today one of the best raw athletes he ever saw in his entire life as a kid was Quentin Patton. No question.
I would agree 100%. No question about it. And now he's back in Nashville giving back to the youth and coaching these guys up. So I'm super proud of Quentin and what he's done. And Chris Gray was on that team, and Coach Steve Williams' son, Ryan Williams, was on that team. We had a bunch of really good players that year. And I think, our
was Tillery on that? Was Tillery
about a 3-pointer?
Was Tillery on that team? Randall Tillery?
Yep, Randall would have been on that team.
Randall Tillery. He was from Una. Yep. He was a bad cat, man. I mean, he
was super fast. I want to say, would that have been the second year that Smyrna won it back-to-back?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right? That's the year we
won.
So,
if I remember correctly, we missed a field goal to beat them at our place.
Austin Hayes.
Time expired.
Yes. In fact, it was in the rain, and it wasn't all. I think of the Hoarder, you just didn't get it. It was the three things that we always talk about: the snap, the hold, and the kick. But you definitely you had the Bulldogs at your place.
We scared them.
You had the chain tight, and you had your hands around their throat. There was no question in that game. I remember it well. But yes, you had the chance to put the dagger right through the heart of Phillip that night, and almost did.
Yeah, and we let them off the hook, and they went on to win their second in a row. It was pretty cool for them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this game Friday night over at your place. What do you like about Coach Creasy's Oakland Patriots and them coming over to your place? What do you like about this game?
I mean, first off, it's going to be a heck of an opportunity for all these kids to play in front of a bunch of people. I think there'll be a pretty huge crowd out there. They've won 33 in a row. You don't do that by accident. You do that by playing some really good football. I think they're as good up front on the offensive and defensive lines as anybody we've played this year. But, they're just a confident football team. They play with a lot of swagger, play with a lot of confidence, kind of takes the personality of their head coach there. He's a pretty confident fella. But it's going to be an awesome game, an awesome opportunity for our guys to make a memory that's going to last a lifetime.
Yeah, and he kind of mentioned it today that for both teams, it doesn't matter, but it's a statement game. It's not a rivalry game. It's a statement game. If you beat them, it's a statement. If they beat you, it's a statement. So it's a little friendly statement game to little bragging rights and everything. But it comes at a great time for both squads because. You'll have some tough battles. You've already had one with Montgomery Bell Academy, but now that, you like to keep continuing testing yourself because no matter what, you want to keep it close because, and play really well and have a chance to win at the end because, and I'm sure he's going to try to do the same thing because it's kind of like a little bit of a pre-playoff. You get a chance to, get really, really excited about saying, about somebody that's, across the way, and it's a little Rutherford Williamson. There's all kinds of factors in this one in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've been kind of the team to beat for several years, So anytime you want to do this thing, you want to go through the best teams, right? And they could be a team if we were to be lucky enough to make it to Chattanooga. There's a good chance that team across the way would be there, right? So you definitely want to see where you're at and see the things you need to improve on over the next half of the season, getting ready for that playoff run.
Coach, we wish you the best of luck. I don't know if I'll record that game or how I'll get it, but I'll get that game. I'll figure out a way to capture it as we always do. But we wish you the best of luck Friday night, and we want you to stay healthy and just have a good game on Friday. And we'll talk to you next week on Inside the Headset.
Thanks, Stuart. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, Coach.